Do you want me to shit myself?
Shit. You got a lot of head down there.
Do you suck the head? Hell yeah. No.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie, is so mother freaking hungry and extra AF abyss. Welcome back, dun dun, mukbang. Woo! I'm so excited because today we have a massive 10-pound meal for you guys. 10 pounds of crawfish in a juicy Cajun like seafood boil sauce with a bunch of corn on the cob and potatoes, which I got for free. Thank you very much.
What did you get for free?
The corn and the potatoes. I get like,
how did you get them for free?
you know, for like every 2 pounds of crawfish, I think they give you 1 corn. Yeah.
Nice.
And like 1 potato. So,
awesome.
you know, you could say I'm a VIP or whatever. And then we've got some lemon wedges, and we're just gonna go right in because this is gonna take a minute to. Yeah, this might be a doozy, guys.
How long do you think this is gonna take to finish?
I don't know, but I'm so excited. Oh my gosh. You know who makes really good crawfish?
My dad.
Yeah, his dad makes amazing crawfish.
Best crawfish in the world. I don't think I'm biased. Am I biased?
Really biased, but it's so good. That crawfish was some of the best I've ever had. You know, I think I need to learn his seasoning because his seasoning is probably the best seafood boil seasoning I've ever had. And I don't know how he did it because it's super like Louisiana style. I didn't know your dad could cook that well.
It's a perfect balance.
So today, we are actually talking about a very intense story because this story is all over the news again.
This is actually quite good.
Okay, I'm gonna go in with the corn real quick. The corn's really good. Do we need some rice?
What do you think? Do you want some?
Well, I guess I'll start with the potatoes. And then
Yeah.
if I need more carbs. Ooh. Do you suck the head? No. If you guys don't suck the head, what are you doing? I can't be friends with people who don't suck the head. That sounds like something a fuckboy would say. I'm so sorry. I apologize. Today's story, I think you'll be really into because you're into this character and I feel like it's just the weirdest thing going on.
I'm into all your stories, babe.
Yeah, sure. Was there ever a story where you really could not pay attention because you were not into it?
No.
He's like, the story of your life.
I'm just so amazed by everything you say. That's a pretty good, juicy looking one.
So you guys all know the Joker, right?
No, who's the Joker?
The Joker from Batman. Crazy DC villain. Everybody knows him. The one with the crazy smile, the one with the white face paint, the one that laughs and goes,
"Why so serious?"
Right? And then the newer version is the one in Suicide Squad, right? Harlequin's boyfriend. You get it, right? What I didn't know is he's actually a lot older than I thought. I thought...
We're talking about Jokers today?
Well, no.
Oh.
Every time I see the Joker on screen, I fall in love with his character. But one thing I never knew about the goddamn Joker was where did he get that smile from? To the extent that I actually Googled it. I tried to research it, okay? I wanted to know the reason how he got it, the backstory, okay? And these are the things that came up. So they said that the Joker, this is all gonna connect to the Black Dahlia. It gets crazy, it gets wild.
Connect to what?
The Black Dahlia. This is an intense, it goes from America, DC Comics, to Japan, to freaking everywhere, okay? I looked up how the Joker got his smile. You guys know the smile I'm talking about. His cheeks were cut up to his ears, so it looks like he's always smiling.
I'm sure there's movies about Joker,
Yeah,
right?
so there's a couple different reasons where it says he got it. So there's a different couple of theories, and the way that the comics were set up, and even in The Dark Knight, there's not one reason. So when he tells Batman how he got his scars in The Dark Knight, he straight up said, oh, my dad actually cut the smile into my mom first, and then did it to me because he didn't like that we were so serious. And that's where the infamous line of why so serious was born, right?
Wow, so Joker had a rough childhood.
But then he told Rachel from the same movie, The Dark Knight, that he actually did it to himself because his wife was in an accident and she had a lot of scars. And she was upset about these scars, so then he was like, what's the point? They're just scars. And then he cut himself. Now, there's a different version in the comics, though, where it says that he's so crazy and his wife hated him and always called him, like, shut up with your sad face, right? So then he's like, my sad face, and so he, like, chaotically cut a smile into his face, right?
I did not know he's married.
Yeah, I didn't either. Yeah. But today we're talking about that smile, that infamous smile. So the Joker was actually written into the DC Comics in 1940. This is important because that smile isn't famous for the Joker. It actually was around for a lot longer than that. So the smile started in Gasglow, Scotland. That's why it's called the Gasglow Smile. So it's a gang in Scotland who would go around cutting people from like lip to ear to make them look like they're smiling. And then like other people, other gangs in the US and even in London started replicating it.
Didn't you tell the story of the Japanese woman?
So I don't know what came first, right? Certain articles, because the Japanese one is an urban legend.
Yeah.
So some people think, okay, is the urban legend based off of the Joker? Or is the Joker based off the Japanese urban legend?
Yeah.
So she's a Japanese woman who had surgery done to her face and it went bad. So she has these scars from cheek
Yeah.
and she wears a surgical mask. Now she'll go around asking little children and just regular people, am I pretty? Am I pretty?
Yeah.
And she'll either cut that same smile on you or she'll kill you.
Okay.
Like this was so big in Japan that there was a rumor that there was a lady following around school kids and a bunch of the schools were closed down for like days. Like it was a real scary urban legend. Now the urban legend has it that this Japanese smiling woman either got it because she had a jealous husband who cut it into her face because he felt like she was cheating on him because she was one of the most beautiful women he's ever seen. And then it was like, oh, who's gonna think you're pretty now? And that's why she goes around asking people, am I pretty? Am I pretty? Do you think I'm pretty? Right? And then the second one is she was just mentally unstable and she cut it into herself while looking in the mirror. So it's very similar to the Joker. Like a man did it or she did it to himself, right?
Yeah.
Now this is is this scary? Like the Glasgow smile is pretty scary, right?
Yeah, if I see one in person,
Yeah.
I'll be scared, yes.
But the truth is, the scariest one isn't even those. Like, these are all fake. These are all possible urban legends. I mean, there are evidence of people doing this smile. And this is probably one of the most famous incidents. And it happened in Los Angeles. And it is so insanely terrifying and creepy. So this all started actually in Boston, Massachusetts, from a woman named Elizabeth Short. Now, Elizabeth,
Why does that name sound familiar too?
so many people requested that we do her story. Her nickname is the Black Dahlia. So, Elizabeth was born in Massachusetts, and she has like siblings and she has parents, right? Now, her life from the beginning, when I read about her life, kind of intense, biz, like kind of a lot. So her dad, in the beginning of her life, he drove off in his car, and he never came back home. So the police start searching for him, and they find his car parked next to a very famous bridge known for people jumping off to end their lives.
You say this is Los Angeles?
This was in Massachusetts at the time. Yeah.
Okay.
So then, very famous bridge, right? So the police find his car. Keys still in the ignition. They couldn't find his body, so all signs lead to suicide.
Yeah.
So her mom had to raise all of the children by herself. They were broke. They were struggling financially even before he kind of went away, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then at 15, she developed a lung problem
Uh-huh.
where she couldn't breathe well. So they had to pay for this really intense surgery. And then the doctor was like, listen, when it becomes winter, y'all know Massachusetts, they don't play. It's like New York. It freaking snows, it blizzards. They were like, you need to relocate her to a warmer climate. Otherwise, like, the coldness is going to make her lungs worse.
Yeah.
So then the mom was like, okay, well, shit, what do we do? What do we do? We can't just, like, move our entire lives just because you can't be in the winter. So then she was like, we have family friends in Miami, Florida. So during the winter months, you'll go to Miami. And then in the summer months, you'll come back to Massachusetts.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how Elizabeth lived. And it was kind of hard for her. Like, she dropped out of high school when she was in sophomore year. Probably because she couldn't, like, how do you do that? Like, just November, school is still in season, and you're like, I gotta go, guys, because it's snowing, you know? So she dropped out of school. And when she turned almost 18 years old, her mom gets a letter in the mail. And her mom opens the letter, and the letter is addressed from Elizabeth's father. So you're probably thinking, okay, Stephanie, is this a ghost story? No, it is not. It's addressed from Elizabeth's father, and he admits that he ran away to California because he didn't want to be with the family anymore. He's been alive all along.
Wow, that's kind of crazy.
He wanted to make it look like he committed suicide so no one would look for him.
Okay.
So then Elizabeth finds out about this, and she's like, well, I want to reconnect with my dad. I want to go to California. And you know, California, if I move to California, I don't have to move back and forth from winter to summer because California is pretty much like summer all year long.
Yeah.
So she moves to California, moves in with her dad. Now, her troubles aren't over. Her problems aren't over. She doesn't get along well with her dad. Like, her and her dad constantly fight. And I think it has something to do with, like, shit, if my dad acted like he died and he was just living it up in California, I'd be like, what the fuck, right?
Why? But why did... So he left because he was not happy with his life.
Yeah, it wasn't because, like, he found a new girl, it didn't seem like, you know?
And he reconnect because he misses them?
Yeah, probably. He's probably like, I wonder what my children are up to. Can you imagine having children out there that you don't really not hang out with?
Yeah.
I'm so ready to, like, do you hang out with your kids? Like, you, like, children that you haven't bonded with. That's the right word. Not hang out. What am I, 12? Yeah, my maturity level is, we get it, right? So she goes over, but they constantly fight. So she's like, you know what? Fuck this. I don't need you. I don't need this shit. I never had a dad anyway.
And she was like a 18, 20, yeah.
So she's like, I'm moving out. But she didn't move back to Florida or Massachusetts. She actually stayed in Los Angeles. She ended up moving up to Santa Barbara at one point with a guy who allegedly abused her a lot. So then she's like, I gotta get out of this relationship. And then she ended up getting arrested. Like, it's just one thing after another, right? She gets arrested for underage drinking because she wasn't 21 at the time. And I guess...
How do you get... I don't know that many people get arrested for underage drinking, right?
Usually they just call your parents.
Yeah, especially if she was in Santa Barbara.
Yeah, oh
Like,
my God.
Not to call someone out.
Not
but...
to call people out, but we went to UC Santa Barbara for a graduation. Then this is wild over there. I have never seen a school so dedicated to the party. Like...
Is it one bigger than, like...
I heard Arizona is one of the biggest, but I heard UCSB is like, holy shit, you go when you want to get drunk. Yeah. I heard it's crazy. And then when we went, like, the graduation party, I was expecting, like, you know, like, girls in, like, dresses and heels, you know, in their cap and gowns, right? Educated, schmeducated. We legit saw an Asian guy in a fur coat on the backyard of, like, this really shitty frat house. And he climbs up onto one of those foldable beer pong tables, and the entire table collapses, and there's, like, beer everywhere, and everyone's like, woo! And I'm just like, what is going on?
Graduation!
Yeah! It was so weird. It was weird. So she got arrested. And the police, I don't know how they did it at this time, but I guess back in the day, they were like, listen, You have no parents here? Like, you can't, like, we can't just let you go because you're gonna underage drink again. You gotta go back to Massachusetts where your mom is then, if you're not gonna go to your dad.
Yeah.
But instead of doing that, she's like, okay, but she went straight to Florida. Where she met another guy. He proposed. Now you're thinking, okay, things are finally looking up for Elizabeth. He passed away before they could get married. He was in the army and he died on like a flight mission thing.
Gosh.
So then she's really sad about that. And then she's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to move back to LA.
Jeez, she went through so much.
Yeah, like all over the country, right?
Yeah.
So then she's like, okay, I'm going to move back to LA and it'll be fine. I'm going to get my own place without my dad, without anybody. I'm not going to underage drink. I'm going to get a job. So she moves to like an apartment behind a nightclub on Hollywood Boulevard. Which, if you guys don't know Hollywood Boulevard,
It's pretty wild.
it's wild over there. And it's not the safest area. Even to this day, not very safe. Right?
Yeah.
So she moves there. She starts waitressing. And there's reports saying that she wanted to become an actress. And that's why she moved back to LA. But there's really no evidence of that because she didn't have any gigs under her name. So it's all like maybe she was, maybe she wasn't. But she wasn't really, sadly, around long enough for us to see any work.
What?
So when she gets to LA, she starts dating a man. He's married. Yeah, it gets wild, right? He's married, and they decide that they're going to go to San Diego one day. So they go to San Diego on a day trip, just like we did. This crawfish is really good,
It's actually really good. Damn. I was very skeptical.
Me too.
Here, this one looks juicy.
I feel like crawfish is one of those things that's either bomb or like whatever.
Yeah, because it's very like, it's by the batch.
Yeah.
Like sometimes they're so fresh and juicy. Sometimes they're just eh.
Even at the same place.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Wow. I was gonna suck every head. She a hoe. Just kidding. I was going to, but I just imagine people getting so mad at that sucking noise.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, maybe not.
Do you hate that noise?
I don't really like eating noises too much. I like more ASMR. Because it's just straight eating noises. But it confuses me when there's like talking involved, you know?
Yeah.
Because I guess my mom didn't like it, so she would get so mad at me. Oh, I can't wait to do. Okay, anyways, I'm sorry.
So she's dating someone who's married?
Yeah. This was about around 6 months of living in LA. She finds this man, they go to San Diego, he's married, they go on a day trip, and police spoke to him because he was one of the last people to really hang out with her before everything went down. So they said, okay, married guy, obviously there seems to be a little bit of a motive here because you are married, she is your mistress, you seem suspect. In the eyes of the police, he's a very big suspect, right?
Yeah.
And he says, listen, after our San Diego trip, I dropped her off downtown in Los Angeles at the Biltmore Hotel. Because her sister was visiting from Massachusetts, and I don't know if they were having brunch there, or I don't know if her sister was staying there, but I dropped her off there, and I went home to my wife, okay? I did nothing wrong here, sir. All I did was take my mistress to San Diego, and then go home to my wife, you know? That's what he said.
What does his wife say about this?
I'm sure he's pissed. That's always what I imagined. I feel like, how does it feel like when you're cheating and then you get caught in a crime? Like, how do you tell your, you know, like that movie,
Yeah.
The Invisible Guest,
Yeah.
right? So then they're like, okay, the Biltmore Hotel in Los Angeles, which is known for being slightly haunted for other reasons.
What?
Yeah. So they go to that hotel. A lot of hotels in LA are haunted. Like the one Eliza Lamb one, passed away in.
Should we go stay at those hotels?
Do you want me to shit myself all night?
But what if we stay at that hotel and then you tell the story of that? What was that? Who was that? Eliza Lamb? Should we go to that hotel and then you do that story time there? I think that's a good idea.
I think you're crazy. I think so.
Wait, what hotel is it? Do you know?
The Cecil Hotel. Cecil.
Do people still go there today?
Not really. I just want you to know something, okay?
What?
I talk the talk, but I don't walk the walk, okay? I love reading
Let's go walk the
about
walk.
scary stuff, but I don't like going to where the scary stuff happened, okay? That's too scary.
Okay, anyways.
So they go to the Biltmore Hotel and they're like, hey, have you guys seen this young lady, Elizabeth Short, around? Has she been around? And some of the hotel employees remember seeing her walking away, like walking out of the hotel. So they're like, okay, that's good. At least there is evidence, like he's not lying. She was seen at this hotel.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, that's good. They ask around to neighboring cafes,
Wait, I'm sorry.
restaurants. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So the story is they went to San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
And then she was reported missing by who?
You'll see.
Okay.
So they go to other places, and some people say, oh, I saw her like walking out of the hotel. Like other employees of the restaurant said, oh, I saw her walking out of that hotel. And this is about half a mile away, right?
Yeah.
Now, she was gone for about 6 days. And nobody really reported her missing. Because she was the only one in LA. She didn't really have, like, her boyfriend was married, so it's like, it's not uncommon for them to go days without talking. Her family lives in Massachusetts. When you're that age, you don't call them every day. Unless you're my mom and you want to call me every day, which she does still. You know?
Wow.
So nobody reported her missing. Now, flash forward to in downtown LA, there's a little park, and a local lady, local Los Angelino, she's walking in the park with her 3-year-old daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, this area was pretty underdeveloped, so there wasn't a lot of people. It wasn't like palm trees and sunshines and like brunch, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of like empty. So she's walking through the park and she sees in the ground of the park like a mannequin. She's like, oh my God. Really, like retail stores, when they want to get rid of mannequins, they just throw them on the ground now, right?
Oh my gosh.
So then her daughter's like, oh my God, Mommy, look, a mannequin. And they walk up close to it and she realizes that it's not a mannequin and it is the body of Elizabeth Short in the park. Now, let me tell you something. When I read this, I was like, okay, I can tell the difference between a mannequin and a human. I don't know what's wrong with this lady. I was being all judgmental until I read why she thought so.
Headless?
Worse. The body was cut in the middle and it was posed almost like a mannequin. Kind of like this. Right? Mm-hmm. And you're still thinking, okay, but I would see all the blood and be like, that's not a mannequin. Mannequins don't bleed. Well, they did that very neatly. They cut her very neatly and they drained all of her blood. So when I didn't know this because I did not enter this side of the internet yet, but when you drain a person of all of their blood, their entire skin becomes just like pale white, like just like that creamy white of a mannequin.
Let's not describe too much.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to eat.
Okay, sorry. Yeah. So the color of her skin was very white, right? And so that's why they thought it was a mannequin. Got it. So then she alerts the police. The police rush over and it is a shit show. Reporters are already on this case. They're like, what happened? You know, like the Los Angeles Examiner already has reporters there. They actually have old pictures of when okay, let's not get into it, right?
Yeah.
Police come, they do the autopsy. Weirdest thing about what they found, right, other than how she was found, is that the killer carefully cleaned her entire body with gasoline to get rid of any like evidence or fingerprints.
Yeah.
Gasoline, such a weird thing. Everyone's getting scared. Everyone's getting creeped out, right? And this is one of the most highly publicized cases at the time because it's like so weird. I hate to say that, but like, you know, it's just so crazy that people are interested.
Yeah.
So the Los Angeles Examiner, which is like a newspaper, they find out who the body belongs to. It wasn't too hard. The police brought her in. They autopsied her. They got her fingerprints. And like I said, she was already arrested in California. So it was a perfect match. It wasn't like they had to go looking. They knew her name. They knew where her family lived in Massachusetts. So I don't know how this journalist got this information. Maybe they have an informant, a source or whatever inside the police department, LAPD.
Yeah.
But this evil guy by the name of William gets her name, gets her mother's contact in Massachusetts, and calls her mom in Massachusetts. And what is he trying to do? He's trying to get a good ass paper out of this. He's trying to get promoted at work, and he needs a bomb ass story to do that. So then he's like, you know what? I'm gonna call her and tell her that her daughter Elizabeth won a beauty contest in LA.
What?
And then I'm gonna ask, oh, this is for the paper. So I was just wondering, like,
the stories of her.
Yeah, like what was she like growing up? You know, what was your family life like? We want to publish
so
it.
Messed up.
So then after he got all the information he needed, he was like, by the way, she did not win a beauty contest. She was actually murdered. So the family found out through a journalist, not the LAPD. But the newspaper heard about this and was like, William, that's not okay. So how are we going to make up for it? Why don't we fly her to LA? We'll pay for her ticket. We'll pay for her stay. And then so they said, listen, we're so sorry about what's happening to you. Why don't you come to Los Angeles? We'll comp everything. So she flies in, and she thought that they were doing this so that she could work with the police to find the killer. Mm-hmm. But no, they did this so that they could have full control of the story. They didn't let her talk to the police or any other reporters.
It's ridiculous.
So that they would have full coverage of this story. What a sleaze mother freaking ball.
What newsletter is this?
Los Angeles Examiner.
Are they still around?
I think so.
Wow.
Yeah. This was like way before social media was around, because I'm sure if there was social media, her mom could like tweet about it. Maybe. I don't know. Right.
Yeah.
So they start looking. And because the Los Angeles Examiner has most of the story about it and everyone's just publishing after them, the killer decides to reach out to the Los Angeles Examiner about like a week after her body was autopsied.
Oh my God.
And says, hey, listen, look, I'm the killer. And don't worry, I'm actually going to turn myself into the police. I just want to have some fun with it first. That's what the Examiner got in their letter. And also it said like, oh, I'm so like, good for you and your coverage of the story. It's really good. Like really creepy, right?
How do you know he's the killer?
They don't know.
Yeah.
So then they were like, okay, maybe this is the killer. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just a stupid troll.
Yeah.
So they wait. Now the next day, the U.S. Postal Service stops a package that they deem suspicious. And it was titled to go to the Los Angeles Examiner's office, the newspaper's headquarters, right?
Yeah.
And inside of it, they found Elizabeth Short's birth certificate. It's crawfish.
Who sent it? Nobody knows?
Nobody knows. And the entire envelope and its contents were wiped with gasoline.
Okay, so it sounds like it's from the killer.
Yeah. But instead of just sending her birth certificate, they sent business cards and photographs of Elizabeth and also an address book. Now, the address book, it had a bunch of names inside of it and their addresses, but it also had one name embossed on the very front cover, and the name was Mark Hansen. So those were the contents of the first package. It was stopped by USPS. Now the second package, sent to the same day, sent to the Examiner, that actually went through and arrived at their office, was same, cleaned with gasoline, but it was her handbag, Elizabeth Short's handbag, and one of her black suede shoes that she allegedly went missing and was murdered in, right? So it's kind of like, okay.
This is so weird.
What, right?
Why does he play this game?
So then the police see all of these letters and they say, okay, well, the one lead that we have that's kind of credible is Mark Hansen, the name embossed to that leather address book.
Right.
So they look him up. He's actually a local business owner. He owns a nightclub in Hollywood, and he was seen with Elizabeth Short. It seemed like they were friends. She would go over sometimes. Sometimes she would even stay the night with her girlfriends.
What do you mean? Go over to where? The nightclub?
Yeah, or his house. Like, they seemed like they were in the same circle of friends.
Oh.
So then they're like, okay, maybe this is the killer. I mean, they knew each other, right? So it's always, like, police like to believe more in, like, knowing each other than random. Most people like to believe that, too, because then it makes you feel, like, more safe. Because then you can be like, oh, you know, nothing's going to happen to me as long as I'm good.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, it's got to be him. They question him. They question all of their friends. And it starts really looking like it's Mark Hansen because people are saying, oh, like, we're friends with both of them. And recently, Mark Hansen was trying to get with Elizabeth Short, and she said no. And so he killed her because he was like, you know, how can you reject me? I'm a club owner, you know? You get it, right?
Okay.
My bottom plate is just, like, overfilling with crawfish heads right now. Got a lot of head down here. Sorry. You got a lot of head down there, as you say. Okay, sorry. He's not entertained. But he was able to prove that he wasn't in town at the time of the murder. So
Okay.
he was a suspect, was one of their main suspects, and they couldn't really do anything to him.
I mean, sounds like this murder is super well planned with the murder plan. How can he, if he's
Send
the murder
the address book, yeah.
Come on now.
Oh my gosh. So much crawfish.
That's a lot of crawfish.
Now here's where it gets crazier. That lead kind of dies because obviously he wasn't in town. How can he be the murderer, right?
Yeah.
So thankfully, the killer decides, I'm gonna just write another letter, okay, to the examiner. So they send a letter to the examiner and it says something along the lines of, hi, listen, we're gonna be here at this place and you can call the cops. We want to turn ourselves in. And it was signed by the Black Dahlia Avenger. So back in when everybody was reporting everything, the way that she was portrayed in media was really bad. Like the newspapers, all these journalists.
Why?
Because they
she's
kept
cheating. Oh.
they kept saying that she's like this prowess who just hunts for men on Hollywood Boulevard. And she's so sexual. Because they're just trying to sex up the story. You know, instead of being like, oh, like,
Poor girl who's murdered.
yeah, then it's like, ooh, this like sexy, mysterious, you know, seductress with a married man, suddenly dead, you know? Then people are gonna be like, what? More than like, oh shit, like some girl from Massachusetts, you know?
What's that? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a lot more scandalous. So they even nicknamed her the Black Dahlia, right? So everybody referred to her as Black Dahlia instead of Elizabeth Short. He signed it the Black Dahlia Avenger. So the police are like, holy shit. They show up to where the letter says he was going to be at the same time. They're ready to catch the killer. They're excited. Because this is still to this day one of LA's most unsolved cases. And it's not a good look, right? Nobody shows up. So they're like, are you serious? Are we getting played right now? And at the same time, the examiner got another letter. And they open it up and it says, listen, your deal to me wasn't good. Which I don't know what the deal was. Like, nobody really knows what that means. They just know what the letter said, but they don't know if they had a deal with the examiner. I guess they were trying to ask the examiner to get the police to, like, lower their plea deal. So I think it was saying something along the lines of they just want 10 years in prison for this murder.
Doesn't make any sense.
But then also, I feel like that's not true. I feel like there might be something shadier going on because I'm sure I heard that the police, can't they lie to you?
Oh, like fake deal?
Yeah, can't they be like, yeah, we'll give you 10 years, just show up to the park, and then arrest you and be like, we didn't sign nothing, shit. You know?
Yeah, I feel like...
Right? And I feel like the judge probably would be like, yeah, they didn't sign nothing.
Yeah.
Shit. I heard the police can lie to you. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
About having evidence. I heard they could be like, we have all the evidence we need. And then you could be like, what evidence? And they got nothing. You know? And then you're like, okay, I'm guilty. So, I don't know. I feel like there's something weird going on. And it said, the last sentence of this letter, the second letter that day, said, Black Dahlia's murder was justified. So then the police are like, okay, you know what, examiner, thank you so much for trying to help, but you just seem to be screwing more shit up, okay? We're not gonna talk to you. We're gonna do this our way. So they go on their way and they decide, here's what we know about the facts. We know how the body was found. Yeah. And we know that someone who needs to do that to her body has to have some sort of training in the medical field, either a surgeon or a doctor or some sort of medical professional. Yeah. So they start looking, they find nothing, and this was near the USC campus where even Patricia graduated from. So they went to the USC medical school and they asked for all the records of all the students there. And USC said, okay, as long as all the identities remain anonymous. So they went through all the list, questioned everyone they felt like was maybe guilty. Nothing came up. Nobody. So they were like, what do we do? We're stuck at another dead end. So then the police are like, okay, put out a reward. And at the time, it was worth I think $120,000.
Okay.
The police said, if you lead us to Black Dahlia's killer, we will give you $120,000. Now you're probably thinking that this led to a lot of tips. Hell yeah, it did. And one of the detectives on the case said, you'd be really surprised that every time we put out reward money, a large number of people are willing to admit that their relatives are the killer. It was my cousin, it was my uncle, it's my mom.
That's really funny.
Yeah, they were like, it's always the relative,
That's really funny.
But the thing that's weird about this case is, more than that, they got a lot of people confessing to the murder themselves.
What? So a bunch of people say, I did it?
I did it.
Do they get money if they say, I did it?
They just, yeah. At the end of the day, over 500 people confessed to this murder. Yeah.
Why?
Weird. Really weird.
And obviously none of them are the murderer.
No.
Oh, what happens if you confess that you're the murderer and it turns out you're not the murderer? Do you get in trouble?
Yeah, a lot of these people got arrested for obstruction of justice.
What do they get out of this?
I don't know. Maybe some people are that wild that they get off on it.
500 people though?
Right.
That doesn't make sense.
So, because of that, they tried to trace all the leads. Nothing could be found. And to this day, nobody knows if any of those 500 people are guilty or if it's someone else. This is one of LA's longest, craziest unsolved cases. And everyone in the LAPD is like, what the fuck happened, right? So here are the theories of what has happened, because there are so many people with so many theories. I think because the sheer amount of 500 people confessing to this murder is 500 theories, right? But these are the top ones that I found people really believe in, right? And also Black Dahlia is the one murder mystery that Hollywood just freaking loves. They just came out with a new show called In the Night, which is about a girl who travels to LA to find her biological parents, and she starts befriending this gynecologist who was one of the suspects of Black Dahlia's murder. And it gets really weird.
Wait, so there's a documentary about Black Dahlia?
No. Oh, well, there was a movie about it with Scarlett Johansson. There hasn't really been a documentary. It's just been Hollywood trying to, romance it more. Not romance it, but do spin-offs.
Based on this true story.
So it's all over the news again because this new show In the Night just came out about it. So the theories are, the first theory is that it seems really similar to the Cleveland torso murders. Now this happened in Cleveland, and then Elizabeth was in Los Angeles. So everyone's like, okay, how can they be related? But it's because the killer for the Cleveland torso murders was still not found. And the one person who was kind of on the line, the main suspect for the Cleveland torso murders, died in a fire, and a detective said that they were so close to arresting him in connection to Elizabeth Short's murder. So in Cleveland, there was about 3 people. No, 12, I'm sorry. 3 was the other one. 12 people that were found in the city parks all over Cleveland with their torsos chopped up.
And so everyone's like, okay, that sounds very similar to Elizabeth Short. And this isn't something that happens common. Like murder, slightly more common than the way that this was done, right? So they were like, this is someone who like really loves this. This is the weirdest MO, like a pattern, right?
Yeah.
But before they could make their arrest, he died in a fire, the main suspect for the Cleveland torso murders. So that kind of led to a dead end. Some people still believe, you know, if he hadn't died, he would have been arrested, and he is Elizabeth Short's murderer. Mm-hmm. There is no tie to them, though. No one can find out if they knew each other or anything. It didn't seem like they did. Could have been completely random, because allegedly the Cleveland torso murders were random. Like, it was just random, and it was all lower class people who they, quote, said, like, in the articles, like, nobody really was looking for them because they didn't really have friends or family. They were just, like, working at jobs that had a really high turnover rate. So it's like one thing if you're the CEO of a company and you don't show up to work, or you work at an office and you don't show up to work, they're gonna be calling. But if you work at somewhere that sees people in and out every day, like a construction site, they might not even call, you know?
Right.
They might be like, man, this quit without telling me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, makes sense.
And like Black Dahlia or Elizabeth was a waitress. I feel like most places wouldn't call, which is so fucked up.
They do.
Oh, they do? That's good.
I think so. But obviously, no.
Yeah.
If they even if they call you, you don't respond. They're not like, okay, police.
Yeah, they're just
know,
like, damn,
yeah.
she quit, you know?
Exactly.
And the main evidence they had is that there was a chemical cleanup in the bodies of the ones in Cleveland, but it wasn't gasoline. So that's theory number one that everybody believes. Theory number two, there was a woman by the name
What's the theory?
that the man who did all the Cleveland
the
torso
same
murders is
person.
the same, but he passed away in a fire before they could arrest him.
And it's different chemical, you say?
Yeah, but they were like, maybe he changed, you know? Maybe the other chemical got expensive, you know?
Yeah.
So then, number two theory is that there was a woman named Jeanne, and she lived in Los Angeles, West Hollywood to be exact, and she was found murdered. And it's kind of similar to the way that it happened, but a little bit weird, because on her body, in lipstick, on her torso, they wrote FUBD. So they were like, BD, Black Dahlia. FU Black Dahlia, right? And the weirder
What?
part is she was a hostess at a restaurant that allegedly Elizabeth Short previously worked at. Now, there's no restaurant records, so people are saying, okay, it's all up in the air. Maybe this is an amazing story. That's why they wrote it as, oh, okay, they worked together, they knew each other, they were friends. But then some people are saying, well, this restaurant didn't keep good records, so who knows? Maybe she was paid under the table. Maybe she's never even been to that restaurant. But they think the FUBD is like a clear sign of something is going on in this restaurant business, right?
Yeah.
So then the police go and they investigate. But then the police are saying, no, the reporters got it wrong. It didn't say FUBD. It actually said FU Police Department, PD. But it's not BD. I don't know who got BD, but it's PD. So then people are saying, but is the police using this to cover it up? You know, nobody knows. So then the third theory actually goes off the second theory of the FUBD. And in Chicago, Illinois, there was something called the lipstick murders. Now, someone was in jail for this, but before he went to jail, they went around and they murdered a bunch of women and then would write things in lipstick. Now, here's the creepiest thing that they wrote in lipstick, okay?
For heaven's sake, catch me before I kill more. I cannot control myself.
In lipstick. And he
Jeez.
wasn't caught. Now, his last murder that he committed, he left a ransom note. And people are saying that they think that this is the lipstick murder in LA because the ransom note was very similar to the notes that were sent to the examiner,
people,
right?
Yeah.
So they were like, oh, we see similarities, right?
Yeah.
And then another thing is, where Elizabeth Short's body was found was 3 blocks from a road called Degnan Boulevard. And the last girl who was murdered in Chicago by the lipstick murder, her last name was Degnan. Like, serial killers really like shit like this, apparently. Like, where they, like, have, like, this emotional, like, I want to trick people, you know?
Yeah.
So people are saying, is this the same or is it not? And then the second murder of Jeanne with the lipstick, they were like, maybe all 5 of them, like the 3 people in Chicago and the 2 girls here, are the lipstick murder. So that's a theory. Some people really believe this one. So now this theory is super widely believed, and I'm pretty sure this documentary, or not documentary, the miniseries from In the Night that's going out right now is about this man. He was a surgeon, and this is the Hodells. which he was turned in by his son. His son called the police and said, hey, listen, my dad's a surgeon, and I think he killed Black Dahlia.
Wait, so a boy actually called?
Yeah, the hotel. And so then the investigators, they kind of tapped the house that they lived in, and the dad was heard talking to a random stranger in his house, like, I mean, someone he knew, but they couldn't identify. And he said, suppose I did kill Black Dahlia. There's no way they could pin it to me now, because my secretary is dead. Because his secretary actually passed away in a very mysterious way. I'm not entirely sure. I just know that the details surrounding her death were kind of like, whoa, what the heck happened, right?
Yeah.
And then he was caught on tape saying that. But they couldn't link him to it. So they were like, what? So this is a theory that really a lot of people believe in. So those are like the main theories that people haven't been able to disprove, but they haven't been able to prove. Now, the other ones, there's some crazy ones. Literally, there was a woman who said that when she was 10 years old, okay, here's the crazy part. Out of those 500 people who confessed to the murder, the police looked into some of them. A lot of them weren't even born yet.
What?
Yeah.
I think that's the weirdest thing I've ever heard.
So then here comes the conspiracy of Mark Hansen. Some people believe Mark Hansen truly was the murderer. But the thing with Mark Hansen is he threw these really lavish parties, and higher-ups of the LAPD would always attend. And so they think that Mark Hansen either faked an alibi and the police let him go off of it, or they hired someone to kill and the police let him go. And then the police are lying about all of the fake confessions. So, I mean, that's like a theory. I don't know. I really don't know. And then, like, I don't want to say anything about LAPD while I'm living in LA. You know, I'm really not trying to get any more parking tickets, any more speeding tickets. So I'm just saying, LAPD.
Put you on blacklist.
Yeah, I know. They got, like, our license plates all up in their dashboard. If you see it, pull them over. You know, I'm just saying. Love this county. Woo! Los Angeles! Go Lakers!
What?
Woo! Dodgers! Woo! Some people were saying, like, maybe it's police corruption, because how can you not find this person? And then there were some really crazy cases of this girl who was 10 years old at the time of the murder, and she said that she saw her dad beating Black Dahlia with a hacksaw. And she even went on to write a book that said, Daddy killed Black Dahlia.
No.
But the police said the facts didn't line up and the timeline didn't line up. And her stepsister said, yeah, the book is trash. No, that didn't never happen.
So people are confused that how did she die? Who is the killer?
People are confused who is the killer. Because here's the thing, right? From what I was reading, the way that she passed, very methodical. Very serial killery, right? But why was there no other victim? It didn't seem like this was what?
Please, you don't have to storage it.
Did you just say storage? They were saying like this is usually the sign of a serial killer, but there wasn't another victim. Not saying that they wanted there to be, but it's confusing.
Yeah.
And it's also not a crime of passion, because usually passionate people, it's usually like a gunshot or a slap, you know? It's never like, let me do this so clean cut like a surgeon and sterilize everything, you know?
Yeah.
So nobody has any idea. Like, it's the most confusing thing ever. Like, the police were even investigated by the state, I believe, because they were like, how did you not catch the killer?
Yeah.
They had like over 720 like investigators on this case. Nobody caught the killer.
Interesting.
Yeah. So here we are. Nobody knows. It's very scary.
Which one do you believe the most?
You know, I actually don't believe the doctor one.
Really?
The one that people believe. Because if I killed someone,
Yeah.
I would never say, suppose I killed this person. Haha. You know, hypothetically, if I did,
Who is he talking to?
just a person he knew in his house. The police couldn't identify who it was, the guest.
But what he said is really strange too.
Yeah, but it kind of sounds like like we've met some cocky people, you know, who like to be like, suppose I did, you know. But then I feel like if he really did, I don't think he would say, suppose I did, you know. I don't know, that's just me. Or maybe he's
Okay.
so cocky that he was like, he did, and he was like, I don't know.
Okay.
I also don't believe the ones in the lipstick or the Cleveland torso because that's really far. And
Yeah.
you know?
I don't think it's one of those. Yeah, it's weird.
I also don't think it's the corruption, not because I don't want to not get speeding tickets, but also, but because if Mark Hansen hired someone to kill his friend, I feel like usually hired murders are clean cut. Just boom, done. It's not like creepy, like, I'm gonna do this, you know?
That's true.
So it's like, I feel like none of these make sense. Even the 500 people confessing doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense.
Yeah, I'm confused.
Yeah, it would make a lot more sense if this was like a serial killer who did this to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Not saying I want that to happen, but like then my brain could be like, oh my god, creepy serial killer.
So
but
it sounds like not even the conspiracies online make sense.
Yeah, that's why like people are so like obsessed with this because nothing makes sense. So then Hollywood's like making all these movies and shit about it, and still everyone's like, still nothing makes sense. That's gonna be it for today's video. I'm so sorry this was a doozy. This one was a long one. This one was kind of a dark one, but I was just super curious about everything that's been going on, especially because this case is becoming like slightly desensitized. Even I feel it because of all the movies being made. Like it almost doesn't feel real because of the movies and stuff. That's gonna be it for today's video. I love you guys so much. Leave it in the comments what you think happened, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.